My name is Emma Brooks, and at 32, I've built a life I'm genuinely proud of. I work as a data analyst in Orlando, Florida, slowly climbing the ranks at a top tech company, earning more than I ever thought possible. It's a far cry from my childhood, a life that shattered when I was just 9. That was the year my mom walked out on my dad and me after their divorce, leaving us to scrape by with nothing but unpaid bills and broken promises. I spent years rebuilding what she destroyed. I worked hard, studied harder, and clawed my way up from the kind of poverty that makes you forget what hope feels like. I thought I'd left that pain behind forever. But one quiet autumn evening, everything changed. There was a knock at my apartment door, sharp, impatient. And when I opened it, my entire past came crashing back. My mom stood there, the same woman who hadn't called me in decades. But she wasn't alone. Behind her was a young man in designer clothes smirking, my half-brother, someone I barely knew existed. Before I could even speak, she said it, cold and entitled. "We know how much money you make, Emma. You owe us. You're doing well. It's time you help family." Her words hit like a punch. It wasn't just about the money. It was the betrayal. The audacity of a mother who had abandoned her daughter now demanding payment for her absence. That moment changed everything. Because as I stood there, numb, angry, terrified, I realized something. They hadn't come to reconnect. They had come to take, and I was about to learn just how far they would go to get it. Growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, my life changed forever when I was just 9 years old. My mom, Marie Stone, packed a suitcase one night and walked out on us. No explanation, no goodbye. Just the sound of the front door closing, and my dad's quiet sobs echoing through the house. Dad, David Brooks, was a good man, hardworking, honest. The kind of man who believed that love could fix anything. He ran a tiny diner at the edge of town, Brooks Breakfast and Burgers, flipping pancakes and wiping tables from sunrise to midnight just to keep the lights on. He never complained, not even when the bills piled up, or when he came home with grease on his clothes and exhaustion written all over his face. Some nights, dinner was toast and scrambled eggs, leftovers from the diner, and he'd still smile and say, "It's not much, but it's ours." Mom, meanwhile, was gone, living a new life with her new husband, Tom Grant. A few years later, I found out she had a son, Caleb, my half-brother. She never called, never visited. Every year, a single birthday card arrived, with a few dollars tucked inside and a line that read, "Hope you're doing well." No love. No warmth. Just guilt wrapped in paper. Dad did everything he could to keep us afloat, but I saw the truth in the way his shoulders slumped when he thought I wasn't looking. Rent was always late. The car broke down every other week, and sometimes I'd open the fridge to find nothing but a jar of mustard and a few slices of bread. By the time I was 13, I couldn't stand watching him struggle anymore. I started babysitting for neighbors, cleaning houses after school, even delivering newspapers at dawn. Every dollar I earned, I'd hand to Dad, pretending I didn't mind when my friends went to movies or bought new clothes. He'd always protest, "Emma, you're just a kid. Let me handle it." But I'd smile and say, "We're a team, remember?" It wasn't just money I was earning, it was purpose. Every shift, every scraped knee, every sleepless night, it all reminded me that I wasn't helpless. Still, deep down, I carried a quiet ache, the question that haunted every birthday, every lonely night. Why wasn't I enough for her to stay? By the time I turned 17, I knew the only way out was through education. Every late-night study session, every exam I aced. It was another step away from the pain of my childhood. My teachers used to say, "Emma, you've got something special. You don't give up." They didn't know I wasn't driven by ambition. I was driven by survival. I earned a full scholarship to a state university for data analytics, a field that made sense to me. Numbers didn't lie, equations didn't leave, and data. It couldn't walk away like people could. Even with tuition covered, I had nothing else. Books, meals, rent, all on me. So I worked 3 jobs to keep the dream alive. Mornings. I waited tables at a campus cafe, dodging spilled coffee and snarky customers. Afternoons, I filed papers at a law office downtown. Nights, I cleaned classrooms and hallways until my hands ached. My schedule was brutal. Up at 5 a.m., asleep after midnight, but quitting was never an option. Every dollar went to food, rent, and savings, and every time I wanted to give up, I remembered Dad's tired smile and those quiet words he once said over burnt pancakes. We're a team, remember? By 22, I graduated with honors. No debt, no safety net, just a fierce determination. I landed an entry-level job at a tech firm in Orlando, starting at the bottom, analyzing spreadsheets, double-checking reports, staying late to prove I belonged. I kept my head down and worked. And slowly, it paid off. Promotions, recognition, a salary I could barely believe was mine. At 32, I finally had a life that felt stable. A modern apartment, a car that actually started every morning, and a career I'd built with my own 2 hands. I thought I'd left the past behind. Until one autumn evening, everything changed. There was a knock at my door. When I opened it, time stopped. Standing there, dressed in designer clothes and wearing a forced smile, was Marie Stone. And next to her, arms crossed, smirking like he owned the world, was Caleb, the half-brother I'd never truly met. "Emma," my mother said sweetly, "you've done so well for yourself, and we need to talk." I had no idea that night would unravel everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and love. I stood frozen in the doorway, my heart hammering so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. It had been 23 years since my mom walked out. Now, she was standing in front of me like nothing happened. "Can we come in?" she asked, her voice dripping with forced warmth. Behind her, Caleb, tall, smug, about 19, rolled his eyes. "Nice place," he muttered, stepping past me without waiting for an answer. My throat tightened. "Why are you here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I heard how well you're doing, Emma. You've really made something of yourself." She glanced around my apartment like she was inspecting a showroom, not her daughter's home. I crossed my arms. "You didn't come all this way to congratulate me." Her smile twitched. "You've done better than most people your age. It's only fair that family shares in your good fortune." The words hit like a slap. "Excuse me?" Caleb flopped onto my couch, picking up my tablet like it was his. "Mom says you make 6 figures now. You could totally help us out. Dad's business is going under and my college tuition isn't cheap." My stomach turned. "Your dad? You mean the man Mom left us for?" Mom's eyes flashed with irritation. "Don't start that, Emma. I did what I had to do. And you wouldn't be where you are if it weren't for my sacrifices." "Your sacrifices?" I choked out a bitter laugh. "You left me with nothing. No calls, no visits. Just silence. Dad worked himself half to death so I could eat. He made sacrifices, not you." For the first time, her voice lost its sweetness. "Don't be dramatic. You've got more than enough now. You're single, no kids, no responsibilities. What's a few $1,000 a month to help your family?" "Family?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "You stopped being my family the day you walked out." Caleb jumped up, sneering. "Wow, no wonder Mom left. You're still the same cold robot everyone says you are." Something inside me snapped. "Get out," I said quietly. Mom frowned. "Emma, don't do this! Get out!" I screamed, my hands trembling. For a moment, I saw it. That flicker of guilt in her eyes, before it vanished under pride. She stood tall, smoothing her jacket. "You'll regret this," she said coldly. "You owe me for bringing you into this world." "No," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "I owe you nothing." The door slammed behind them. And the silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. I sank to the floor, the reality crashing down. After all these years, she hadn't come back for love. She came for money. But what I didn't know then was that her visit was only the beginning. Within a week, I'd find out just how far my mother was willing to go. To take everything I had built. The next few days blurred together. I threw myself into work, trying to forget that night, the sound of her voice, the look in her eyes when she said I'd regret it. But peace didn't last. On Thursday morning, I found a certified letter taped to my apartment door. It was from a law firm, one I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I tore it open. This notice serves to inform Ms. Emma Collins that a financial claim has been filed against her by Marie Stone for unpaid familial support and emotional damages. My stomach dropped. She was suing me. I sank into my chair, reading it over and over. Emotional damages? Familial support? It didn't make sense, until I saw the next line. Ms. Stone asserts that Ms. Collins received substantial financial assistance from her during her formative years and now refuses to reciprocate. That was a lie. A complete poisonous lie. I called the number on the document. A man's voice answered, smooth and professional. Good morning, Collins and Grant Law Offices. Grant, I whispered. It hit me, her new husband. She'd married into a family of lawyers. Of course she had. By the end of the week, I had no choice but to hire an attorney of my own. He listened patiently as I told him everything, from her walking out to showing up at my door. When I finished, he leaned back and said, She doesn't have a real case, but she's betting you'll settle out of fear. And for a moment, I almost did, because fear was exactly what I felt, not for the money, but for my dad's memory. She was dragging his name into this, twisting the past to make herself the victim. That night, I drove back to my childhood town, a place I hadn't seen in years, to visit Dad's old diner. It had closed long ago, the windows boarded up, the paint peeling, but stepping inside, the smell of old coffee and grease still lingered. In the back room, I found an old metal box under a loose floorboard. One Dad used to keep important things, he'd said. Inside were faded photos, a few receipts, and one manila envelope. On the front, in Dad's handwriting. For Emma, if she ever needs to know the truth. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a copy of their divorce agreement, and attached, a signed affidavit from Mom herself. She had waived all parental rights and responsibilities. In exchange for a payout from Dad's savings, she hadn't just left us. She'd sold her connection to me. I felt sick. The woman who now claimed I owed her had legally abandoned me. The next morning, I handed the envelope to my lawyer. He skimmed it, then smiled grimly. This ends today. When Mom and her attorney showed up for the mediation, they looked so sure of themselves. Caleb was there too, smirking. But that smirk vanished the moment my lawyer slid the document across the table. Mom's face drained of color. This isn't valid, she stammered. It's filed with the county, my lawyer said calmly. And notarized. You severed all parental ties, Mrs. Stone. You have no legal, or moral, claim to Emma's life. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then she did what she always did when caught. She turned cruel. You think you're better than me now? She hissed. You'll end up alone. Money can't love you. I met her eyes steady this time. Neither could you. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked out without looking back. Caleb followed, muttering something under his breath. And just like that, they were gone again. This time, though, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. That night, I visited Dad's grave. The wind was soft, carrying the smell of rain and old earth. I placed my hand on the headstone and whispered, I did it, Dad. You can rest now. She can't hurt us anymore. As I walked away, I realized something. Family isn't the people who share your blood. It's the people who stand beside you when the rest of the world turns its back. And I finally knew peace.